Hi again everybody, welcome back to another video. In particular, welcome back to another Matthews modelling. So I've been working on some locos. One will probably be a bit of a surprise to you. It's not one I'd planned on working on. The second one I showed you in the last loco update, but I just cracked on and started work on it. A bit unexpected, I didn't want to work on it so soon really, but yeah, things just cracked on and went ahead. So I'll bring you this one in first. Now, like I say, it was in the last local update. It was a little steamer, if that's giving anyone a clue who watched the last video. But here we are, Hornby Pug. So featured this in the last update. If you can't remember, this was in the black LMS livery, and I tried to tone down the weathering on it that someone had already applied, and I ended up taking off some of the LMS transfers on one side. I wasn't too fussed, as I knew that later down the line I wouldn't mind doing some kind of re-livery on this. And I was sat looking at it, a bit peeved about the lettering coming off so soon, so I thought, right, what's the point in waiting around? And I cracked on and gave it a rework. So I stripped the whole thing. It was running a bit pap, so the whole thing came apart. The body was off. I took apart as much of the motor as I could and as I dared from inside on the top. Give the wheels an extremely good clean, and I'm just very proud of it. I can easily say it's an absolutely stunning runner now. It does pick up dirt very quickly though. Even when the track seems to have been clean, this thing seems to find it. But it's running rather well now. So once I'd got it all running perfect and the motor was sorted, turned my attention to the body, stripped the handrail off, and I was a bit unsure what livery to give it. I was looking through my colours, and then I saw the little crane setup that I showed you in the last Wagon Works, and it is a nice green, is that, and so I thought I'd go for the same one. It's quite a nice industrial colour. I must say that the addition of the lighting on the camera is really bringing that colour out, probably even brighter than it probably is if I just cover that light up. Yeah, look at that, it really is a nice green. So yeah, that was the colour I chose, and I have actually brush painted this loco. Now I used to brush paint every single loco that I ever worked on, and as the years went on and I started to lean towards the better side of modelling and spraying and whatnot. Even though I've still done airbrush locos, I spray paint as much as I can. But this time, after seeing that green, I thought, yeah, let's go for it. I'm going to brush paint a loco again. And I loved it. It's a brilliant colour to work with. This is the Humbrol Gloss. And the Humbrol Gloss range I really do like. I don't use it very often. But it's brilliant, and yeah, it took about 7 or 8 coats on there to get a really nice lush shade of green. Picked out the little boxes on the side as well, and then I gave the buffer beams a going over in red. Now, funnily enough, this is exactly how the Worth Valley's Pug used to look back in the day. They had it in a green like this with red beams. Then once I decided on the colour and I saw photographs of that, you know, I had to go for it. The only difference is that the KWRs, the boxes here on the side, they were green on the front, whereas I've just kept it all black on the front. So yeah, gave it a weathering, and then I gave it a matte spray. Now unfortunately when I gave it the matte spray, well, it's not unfortunately, the Halford's matte spray I used didn't particularly like the Humbrol Gloss, and in a couple of areas it started to crack the paint. Now this has happened to me before, and I don't really mind, because when I'm weathering things, you know, cracked paintwork, it looks brilliant, it looks fantastic, it's so prototypical, and it looks brilliant. So there is a couple of areas on this which the camera probably won't pick out, but there is a cracked paint effect, and I've just gone in there with some black washes to pick it out even more, and I'm really happy with it. I've just gone for a single number. I was going to go for BR, but bit of an industrial colour, so we just left it with an industrial number. So yeah, it's absolutely brilliant. If I just turn it round, I have put a little addition on the rear. So on the back of the cab I've added a headcord disc, just for something a bit different. So yeah, I would like to pop a driver in that side. You can see quite a lot of mechanism in that cab. The other side's not so bad because the handbrake or whatever it is, gauge setter, is actually in the doorway, so it takes a lot of the view up. But there's nothing on this side, so I may add a figure yet. But yeah, that's the first one to show you. So the lovely little Hornby Pug, which is now running brilliantly and is looking rather different, and I am rather happy with it. As I said, you know, a Hornby Pug or even a dapper one would do. They've been missing from my little loco fleet for some time, and I've got a lovely addition. So I'll bob that out of shot, and then I'm going to get the next one out, which might be a bit of a surprise to you, but just bear with me and I'll go grab that. Right, I've grabbed the loco. I've also zoomed out ever so slightly because this one is a tad bigger, funnily enough. Excuse me. Right, now this is really going to cast some subscribers' minds back, and you have to be a real original subscriber to even remember this loco. But the first loco overhaul, repaint and rework I ever did was a Hornby Class 06 diesel shunter, and it was a real good learning curve for me back then. When I look at it these days, you know, it was atrocious. And I'd found it the other day and I had it out and had a little bit of a run with it and stuff, and I thought, you know what, this really does need bringing up to date. Just with the finish more than anything. You know, I brush painted that one back then. My skills in the early days weren't as good, and it just needed a new lease of life. So I thought, right, let's go for it. So here it is. Here's one of my Hornby 06s. Now, it was yellow. It was an all over yellow. Back in the day I had such a dire need to own a yellow shunter, that this Hornby 06 became the culprit. And it's now grey. Funnily enough, its original livery was the rail freight grey that these come in, or whatever grey it is. So here it is. It's gone back. So yeah, I chose the grey because I felt like this one needed a spray. I'd cleaned off as much as the yellow paint job as I possibly could. It really was a bad job by me back then, all them years ago. And I thought, right, we'll give this a spray. So I thought I'll go back to grey. So it just Halford's primer all over, back to grey. And then I went over and sanded all the raised areas just to bring out some of the yellow. The camera might not pick it up, but pretty much every raised moulded detail on the body has got a yellow tinge coming through the grey paintwork. I also kept the yellow cab end and the yellow buffer beams, mainly just because I just wanted to keep some of the originality of the work I'd done, so we have kept some yellow. I added the ladder on the fuel tank there. That's something that Hornby have missed off theirs, but I've got two 06s. I'll show you the second one in a minute alongside. And I've added ladders to both. The nameplate there on the side, Iron Duke, that was a nameplate that I just got all them years ago on eBay. I wanted to give it a nameplate, so originally that was on the toolbox on the side, and now it's on the cab side. So it's kept that, and then we've just given it an industrial number 5 on the side. So we're heavily rusted, heavily in black washes. The yellow end is also heavily weathered. Also on the yellow end there is a very small number 5 in the bottom right hand corner, just to keep the industrial theme going. The cab driver there, he's hanging out the window. He was there all them many moons ago as well, so he stayed where he is. One thing with this, it has no glazing. Back when I did work on it, I must have had a bit of a pig to get this glazing out, and it disappeared and never came back. So I do need to put some glazing in there. If I just turn him round, it's the same on the other side with regards to the colour and the weathering, so we're all over grey and then very heavily weathered. And then a bit of a unique touch on this loco is the front buffer beam. Now, funnily enough, well, it's not funnily enough really, but it has a different end, this end, to the cab end. Now, Worth Valley's Class 37's a bit like this. The nose ends are different. And this is slightly the same with its buffer beam arrangement. On this front end I actually lopped the die-cast buffers off, replaced the buffers and added a load of cabling. And then the wash stripes I put on myself with some black vinyl. And they're very slightly different to how you'd find wash stripes. You know, there's just 4 vertical stripes there rather than the chevron style stripes. So that's just my own touch. But yeah, we've got another number 5 there in the corner on the radiator. And then it's just the same same appearance. So I'm really happy with it. This 06, it does run well. You can get it running quite nice, but it runs nowhere near as well as my other 06, which I'll try bringing to shot. If I just zoom out a tad, let's see if we can bring this forward a bit and then bring in the other. We're on, so there we go. I'll just zoom back in on this one. This is just to show you. So this is my other 06. This was the BR Blue variant. Now this one is an absolutely stonking runner for what it is. A really nice smooth running loco. This one just was massively heavily weathered. Painted over the BR logo and added some NCB lettering. And then on the front there, that is the correct piping for what a Class 06 should have. So it has the white pipe that runs along the front of the radiator and disappears inside the bonnet. And then again on the other side, same NCB lettering, same very heavily weathered, and then the ladder added, like I mentioned. So nice little Class 06 pair there now. A lot of people are against the Class 06s and all the usual Hornby styles of pocket rockets, but yeah, I like them. Not wrong with a Class 06, just right for a bit of modelling. So that's that for the local update. So a couple of older Hornby style things to show you. The next update will probably be a local update. We'll show you some new stock. And then I think after that I'd like to do a running session. So anyone out there would like to see any kind of particular running session, please do let me know, but that's I'm pretty sure that's what will come next. Plenty of new things to be showcasing and get running, so I think that's what we'll do. But for now, as always, let me know what you think, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching, and bye bye.